Okay. So with this, so Ty, I don't know if you're able to talk through our agenda. If not, I will do it. So today we're going to be talking about business sustainability. So I would like to call this session Sustainability 101. So we're going to just talk about the foundational principles related to sustainability, what it is. We're going to talk about why it's important, and also we're going to get into how to implement sustainable designs into your business. Okay, so with that, let's just dive into it because we really want to get to how to implement this and also how to ensure your sustainable practices are profitable. So, when you think about sustainability, it really is the fundamental understanding of how to implement practices that will allow your business to grow from an environmental perspective, socially, economically, along with considerations for how to build long-term value and also to embed profitability within to your designs. So when you think about this, a lot of companies release what they call sustainable or corporate responsibility reports. So you could be in business for, you could be in the oil industry, or maybe you're in healthcare, whatever your industry is, right? You are focused on delivering those services to your customers, but ultimately you also have a consideration for how you impact the broader community and what do you do that's good, right? Um, you can watch the news and you guys see that there is so much out there around waste. And also, there is a shift from the pandemic where a lot of companies are looking to understand how to reduce costs, where there has been overspending, where there has been overinvestment. So, we're going to talk about how to shift costs and also implement practices that will last for the long term. So for the key principles within sustainable business design includes understanding your business goals. So all businesses are in business to make money. So whatever your organization is within your broader corporation, you're there to drive profitability and engage with your customers. A portion of that work includes operational efficiencies. That's a really key place to start out when looking at sustainable practices. Then you also consider the environmental impact. So, how does this product or service that you're delivering, how does it really impact the environment, and are you doing the right thing? And then you also have your community impact because your greatest assets are your people, right? So how are you able to pour back into the community in a meaningful way that allows them to grow and thrive? And I like to say that it's one key principle. You always want to leave things better off than you found them. So that's the old adage, right? So if you think about this and how this applies, even when you show up with your work and the new innovative solutions that you're trying to roll out, you always have to be grounded in not only doing something new, but also doing something new that leaves things better off. And that can be done across any practice, whether if you're working in finance, there are ways that you could pursue this, or if you're doing traditional product development, there are also opportunities for that. So, how does this matter? Why does this matter? Right? Business sustainability is really key because you're able to really get down to efficiency. How can we reduce the cost of running our business? So, how do we reduce waste? How do we optimize the resources that we have in place? How can we implement energy efficient solutions? Right? That's just high level, something simple that we all can consider, whether it be in our business or at home. But another good reason to do this is because it allows you to build brand recognition and reputation with your customers, right? Individuals want to be connected to something that feels like it's the right thing to do. So when you build a legacy and that's a part of your key vision and mission of your company, you then will be able to retain those customers. And it goes back to something called the Net Promoter Score. So in business, Net Promoter Score is just really a value that allows you to assess customers' ability to promote your business based on an engagement with you. So by building this reputation and building this recognition over time, those customers become repeat customers and they bring other customers into your business, right? It allows you to also access new markets, right? You're looking to grow. And one way to do that is to rinse and repeat your services. building something that will stand the test of time. And we're going to get into some key examples here in a second of companies that have been able to do that and have done it well. You also think about the social challenges. Again, it kind of goes back into brand recognition and just doing the right thing and being able to commit to that vision and mission. And also, as you do that, right, you're more efficient in your delivery. So over time, you reach that point of growth that continues to go up, where if you're building traditional products, over time, by year 3, if you haven't released something new that usually requires a lot of resources in time, it starts to decline. So that's what this graph here is showing, is that within sustainable designs, right? The theory is the more sustainable the design is, the more you're able to reuse that individual product or service over time, your revenue or your profit from your initial investment will continue to go up and be at a steady level. Whereas traditional development, so if you think about agile development where you're looking to learn fast, roll something out, and then you get to 6 months or 24 months and you're like, we need to go in a new direction, and you don't have anything to show for all of the upfront investment into the resources. So it goes down. And as you do that and you continue to shift in a major way, customer loyalty has a tendency to also decrease as well. But by building those sustainable products, you're able to retain the customer loyalty. You're able to reuse your products, your services, and your operational designs over time to maintain it. This is something that is included oftentimes within a transformation map where you're able to grow in a meaningful way. So over time, you just add to your services, but you have your foundation properly developed. And you're able to attract new customers, new talent that's able to really commit to it because you have the foundation established. So the three key pillars of sustainability really goes into environmental resources. So what are we leveraging? How are we using our natural resources within our day-to-day products and services? So something as simple as a phone. We all have phones. I am a lover of Samsung phones. If you do any research on Samsung, they have a program where in which they um, use natural resources or resources that can be recycled over time. That allows them to release new phones, and the price of these phones continue to go up, but their revenue is also decreasing because they have a trade-in program. So after you use your phone for a year or two, you can go and trade it back into Samsung. They take the resources, so the goods that made up this phone, they recycle them, which cuts into their overhead, right? They're able to bring down their overhead costs for the delivery of new phones, while also continue brand loyalty, right? I know that this phone is going to work well. They use quality products. It's fashionable. It meets all the requirements of having a good product. So it works. And then you also have social sustainability, right? We saw a lot of things happen during the pandemic where companies were looking to really promote the communities. When you think about the COVID pandemic and a sense of togetherness and individuals looking to connect to their local communities to build out either food banks or other resources, but it really was around how can we leverage our natural goods and resources within our backyard to help out those who work for us, because whatever your business is and wherever you're located, there is a goodwill associated with that, because oftentimes you will hire or employ those companies that are within your region, your market. And then there's the economic sustainability. So that's being able to understand, again, how to develop things that can be reusable, and also understanding the financial side of developing items. A lot of companies are having to cut back. I mentioned that before. So if you look across the tech industry, there have been massive cuts to the workforce, massive reduction in workforces. A lot of that is because there is a lot of development. if you look at Amazon, they rolled out a lot of new programs and products that they were looking to test and learn more about. Over time, they were able to see that these products were not sustainable. They were not as profitable as other programs they had previously developed. Within their programs, they do have a level of sustainability, but not to the level of specificity that would have allowed them to leverage what they previously deployed and not have had to start from the ground up. So a lot of times when companies are reducing overhead or there is a reduction in force, it's usually aimed at those innovative teams. So those teams that are going out to understand what's the latest thing, how do we develop it? And if you're not able to prove out your concept fast enough, it makes it easier for the company to decide to move away from that particular idea. And ultimately, it impacts the team and their ability to work with them as well. So, understanding these three key pillars: one, is it good for the environment? Or is there a better way to leverage the environment to deliver the service? Social sustainability. Is it the right thing to do? Are you able to um, also connect with the community, to do good, to help others grow in their partnerships as well? And then you also have the economic side. Again, how can you drive profit in your design? So as you think through those questions, you have to ask yourself, is this something that will allow us to grow over the next 5 years? Is there a better way to do this? What other resources do we have in our company that we may be able to leverage to stand this up versus hiring talent or pulling in resources that will be short-lived and ultimately will be reduced in the future? So, what are some key strategies for profitability? So, one, start to look at your supply chain, understanding your sourcing, understanding, getting transparency around where you're getting items from, especially if you're outsourcing to other countries. There has been a lot, there is a lot of data, right? And there have been a lot of stories around ethical practices of other countries and how they employ their workforce and the impact of that to the environment. So, especially when you think about things like fast fashion. So, that's your Sheins of the world, your Temus, where things are produced at a fast pace, right? But they don't have quality. So ultimately, consumers are consuming more things over time, and they're spending costs. They're spending more than if they would have just invested in a high quality good. Innovation and product development. I think this is really the core of the greatest opportunity for sustainable practices and the ability to develop profitability. It's really understanding how to reuse, recycle, and to develop operational flows that that are inclusive in thinking so that everyone on the team comes into the conversations to say, is there a better way to do this? How can we build something that's going to last longer? Is it eco-friendly? Are there better resources that we could put into this product that will help to improve the life of the consumer? And that's the health, wealth, and mental aspect of that particular product for the individual. And as you dive into specific industries, there are specific examples of how to look at this. If you go to the hospital, there's a lot of waste in the products that they deliver. So when you think about if you've ever gone into a hospital stay, and the nurses and the amount of the gowns that they use, right? All of that's trashed. Nothing's reusable. And a portion of that is around reducing germs, but another portion of that is because it's quicker to do that versus investing in high quality cleaning products that may be able to kill off the germs while moving faster as well. We also have the energy efficient. That's one of the most practical ways to do it. So for those who are invested in real estate or you have a heavy real estate footprint, you would look at your broader resourcing of energy to see what else can we do? Are solar panels practical? Are we connected to things that we could mm, potentially not leverage in hopes of reducing costs? You also have waste reduction, which is a very easy one to do. So if you're mailing out goods, how can you reduce the amount of things that you put into your packaging so that you're able to still make a lasting impression when your customer receives the item, but you're not just putting superfluous items within the package. So some of the questions you can ask in the process of this is, as you're brainstorming with your teams, you can think about things about questions like, what are the environmental impacts of the current processes or products? So this will help you consider the various stages within your product life cycle where you may be able to leverage raw materials and reuse those. Another question is, what are the opportunities for reducing these impacts, right? So are we able to use more sustainable materials? Can we do the reduction in energy? And how can we improve our waste management? So how can we recycle would be a very simplistic example of how to do this. Another question to have your team think through is cost implications of the process or product you're delivering. So you start to think about if you make any changes to the product, right? If you're trying to be more efficient, will there be any downstream um, impacts to the overall quality, right? Are you able to increase sales even if you change the components of your good? And those are just some very high level questions to think through. There are things like the regulatory requirements as well, making sure that you consider that in your development, along with hitting your company's vision and value stories as well, because most companies are a pillar of that company is focused on doing the right thing, doing good. And it's stated in multiple ways, right? If you go out to a company's website, they're going to have something that's related to social responsibility. So it's really understanding what is the core goal of the social responsibility for my individual company, and then maximizing your design to meet the needs of that responsibility. Okay, so with that, I'm going to pass it over to Tracy Presume, who's going to talk through our case studies that really speak to sustainable business practices and being able to do that well.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. Um, During now, we're going to just review, because there are many businesses who are successful, who use sustainability in their business. So here we're going to look at some of them. And the first one is Patagonia. It is a clothing company that is committed to environmental responsibility. They have a number of programs in place to reduce their environmental impact. So because they are committed to environmental responsibility, it has earned them a strong reputation among consumers and has helped them build a loyal following. Um, so Patagonia, they're seen as a company that cares about the planet. And there is a recent survey that says that 92% of Patagonia's customers, they said that they would recommend the brand to others. So they even have a high net promoter score, NPS, which measures the customer loyalty and satisfaction. So this company is setting the example for other businesses. They're showing that it is possible to be profitable and also environmentally responsible at the same time. Um, Now we have Unilever. It is actually one of the world's largest multinational consumer goods companies. They have a variety of brands such as Dove, Ben and Jerry's, and more. And with Unilever, they have a sustainable living plan. It's actually a long-term strategy that aims to halve the environmental impact of its products by 2030. And the plan, it has three pillars. They focus on health and well-being, reduced environmental impact, and also enhanced livelihoods. So this plan has contributed to the market growth by attracting new customers, differentiating Unilever from their competitors, and also reducing costs. So this plan, it has created like a lot of new market opportunities because they're able to develop products that match what consumers want, like sustainability and ethics. So this really helped Unilever to grow in the emerging markets and attract eco-conscious customers who value sustainable brands. So overall, the plan helped Unilever to succeed in a business world that values sustainability. And this last company, Interface, it's actually a flooring company that has been on a sustainability journey for about 25 years. And their journey towards achieving carbon neutrality, it has yielded significant positive impacts on its bottom line. So, for example, they were able to invest in energy efficiency when it comes to lighting, heating, and cooling systems. And also, they're also able to use renewable energy and also offset their emissions. And so with Interface, their journey to carbon neutrality, it had a positive impact on their bottom line. And it also saved them millions of dollars in energy costs and increasing sales of sustainable products by 40%. So sustainability can benefit both the environment and a company's financial success. So these are just some examples of companies that have successfully applied sustainability practices. And you can continue, Jessica. I think, yeah. Okay. Okay, so with metrics and measurements, so measuring sustainability, it is important to track the progress, identify areas for improvement, communicate sustainability performance to stakeholders, and it also can help organizations make better decisions and increase transparency and also attract new customers and investors too. So one way to measure sustainability is through key performance indicators, KPIs. So KPIs are metrics that measure the progress of an organization towards its sustainability stage, sustainability goals, really. And some of the most common KPIs used in sustainability is energy consumption, which basically measures the amount of energy that an organization uses. And then also waste reduction, which focuses on measuring the amount of waste that an organization produces. And there are many other KPIs such as sustainable sourcing and even employee engagement. And the specific metrics that an organization, I think this is good to note that the specific metrics that an organization chooses to measure, it will also depend on the specific sustainability goals and objectives of the company. However, all organizations should track their progress in some way in order to measure the effectiveness of their sustainability efforts. And then we also have sustainability reporting. So that is the process of communicating the organization's sustainability performance to stakeholders. And the report usually includes the organization's goals and objectives, the challenges and opportunities that the organization faces in achieving those goals, and also the organization's performance, their sustainability performance in the past year. And how also they will include like how they will continue to improve its sustainability performance in the future. So that's what the reporting consists of. But with this type of reporting, it also helps increase transparency. And it also improves decision making, build trust, and also attract new customers to and investors, and also improve employee engagement. Yeah, you can move on. And now we have Tyamisha, who's going to explain some of the challenges that companies may face when applying sustainability in their business.
Thank you, Tracy. So as we have here, overcoming challenges. So there are three that we just kind of highlighted here, which are the financial challenges, as well as the resistance to change and a lack of knowledge. So with that, the first thing that a company would need to do is look inside their company so that they can then begin to get things in order. This, will include sustainability criteria, which will include it in all of their decisions, which is going to be a part of that culture within your business. So secondly, you want to work with your suppliers and understand what your customers need so that you can ensure that you are using those measures so that you can dispose of any products that are not being used responsibly. And thirdly, when you come to reach out to your local community as well and other key stakeholders to ensure that they are in good standings with your corporate organization as well. So we know that one company alone cannot create sustainable development, that it will include a big community to overcome climate change, to overcome poverty. These are things that will take on not just one company, it will take the entire community coming together as one. So you can move, Jessica. Just to conclude here, what is sustainability? When it comes to sustainability, we are talking about sustainable development is development to meet the needs of the present. So to ensure that we are not compromising the future. So with that, she mentioned the cell phones. When you're purchasing a cell phone, you have to think about you're purchasing a cell phone here, but how are we affecting the lives of the people on the other side of the world that are making the product? What are we doing today? The lives that we're living today, how will it affect the future, our grandkids and their kids? So are we living a congruent life today to ensure that they have a future to look forward to? We know that ultimately sustainability is about understanding how all of these things connect. Sustainability is about system thinking. We have the big three: the environment, the economy, as well as equity. We know that it's not just the one thing. We call it the three stool method. So just consider within, how are you treating your employees? Are you treating your employees well? What natural resources are you using? What investments are you looking into that have a long-term effect? So understanding that we need to manage all of these things and understanding also how they all connect. We don't want to only look at the short-term economic profit that we will receive, but understanding how can you have a thriving community in the long term. So this is a long-term goal that we're working towards. So as a business, we know that business are in business of creating wealth, that they must do so without over compromising or over consuming natural resources in their daily use. So again, sustainability is really about addressing all of these and just understanding how they connect. So to achieve sustainability, we must comply with social as well as environmental conditions. Are we meeting the human need with ecological constraints? Does this mean that businesses have to put a financial gain, put that last on their list? They don't. But in the decisions that you're made, make sure that you're a part of a strategy that will ultimately make more money while getting closer to achieve social and economical sustainability. We know that the economy is a means to an end, not the end itself necessarily, but it's very important to remember that, as you pay bills, it happens on multiple levels. And ultimately, we're all dependent on that. This is helpful for businesses because it helps provide new perceptions rather on the rationale for integrating sustainability into your business. Who are you dealing with? How are you implementing these things out into the world? Having a new look, putting a new lens on how sustainability applies to you and the business going forth. So with that, again, things to remember here, that just three things that we've highlighted, as the global business landscape evolves, businesses must consider addressing these things today. We know that sustainability as a strategic advantage today in the business environment is very essential, as I said, to long-term success. And it also enhances the operational efficiency to help reduce costs. And we know that's one thing that businesses are continually looking to do. What measures can they take to help reduce costs? But in the same sense, what can we do to help the environment along the way as well? So again, at this time, I will transfer it back over to Ms. Tracy Presume with any questions that you may have.
All right, so if there's any questions that came throughout the presentation, feel free to unmute yourself or type it in the chat.
Maybe one question from my side. So thank you so much, first of all, for everything that you have shared so far. When it comes to examples, so you made before, Tracy, some examples of companies like Unilever, Patagonia, and so on, right? But Patagonia, let's say, was born by having sustainability in mind, right, as part of their positioning. It was part of their DNA since the beginning. I don't know if that was the same also for a Unilever, for example, but do you also have examples of companies where, let's say, that was not initially in their, as part of their, sorry to use again the word DNA, but it was something that was established in a second step, because basically that's what the majority of, or at least many companies have to go through now. And as you highlighted now with the challenges to overcome, acceptance, and do it properly without actually doing greenwashing is a recurring challenge. And I would like to hear if there are examples of companies that, let's say, implemented that. I don't know if it was because the management was visionary or because they were changers or people that helped the management making the move from inside, and how did it succeed? I would like to learn or to hear from those stories if possible.
Yeah. So I'll take that question. So I think if you look at the landscape of companies who've been in business for over 30 years, many of them 30 years ago did not have this as a key pillar. Sustainability is one of those concepts that's been for a while, but not necessarily been in operation. So when you think about companies, especially like our oil industries or even healthcare industries, a lot of it was related around just getting the service in the hands of the consumer, right? There was no thought process on long-term impacts to the environment. So that's why if you go back 50 years, there were very loose laws on emission rules within healthcare and how things were regulated. For example, at the payer level, so at the insurance level, a lot of that was not regulated based on what the outcome of that service was, but it was really just driven heavily on profit. So many companies, especially as the workforce has changed, and as companies have gone through acquisitions and mergers throughout the late 90s, as laws began to change, these began to become pillars of companies. Where they've gone in and they've implemented. Many of the larger corporations have teams that are specifically dedicated to sustainable development. So they're focused outwardly. And then once they're able to develop these concepts, they then work with the broader product development teams to implement those services. So I would say that if, as far as an example, I would look at your Shells of the world, your Chevrons of the world, like those oil industries. I would also look at companies within the healthcare arena. I would look at Aetna and Walgreens historically and how they started out with the footprint that they have nationally with the number of services that they have and how they're reaching out to how they began reaching out to customers. It was all about build as many stores as possible, sell as many products as possible. There is no efficiency in consideration for the medication, the usage of the medication. We see now that there are more regulations on the types of drugs that are used, and even your off-brand drugs or your. So all of that being said, long story short. Most companies that were in business before, I think one of the major laws that came out was like 1993, 1995 that really restricted companies' ability to do emissions, also the impact to the customers. And I can't think of the name of the law right now, but after this call, I'll look it up and send it over to you. But that was a pillar that started to transform how businesses did business. And how they do their people development. So as you go into a lot of the newer product development teams, or even if you have a team that focuses on human-centered design, sustainable design is a pillar of that human-centered design, because not only do you want to meet the needs of the customers, but you are also having to consider the core business needs as well. And a portion of that is once you have to have your stockholder call every quarter, you want to be able to come back and report. We've been able to meet our profit goals, but we've also been able to connect with the community. We've been able to reduce waste. And we think that, and then being able to build out a story that tells your investors why that actually matters. So case studies beyond this, I would say I would look at, again, the examples were Chevron, Shell, looking at the oil industry, healthcare, I would look at United Healthcare and Aetna as pillars to look at their ability to change their business model over the past 30 years as well.
All right. Thank you, Jessica.
My pleasure.
Any other questions? Okay. So we do help other businesses with sustainability, with applying sustainability. So if you do need help with that, or just with any other service that we have, you can schedule a free consultation with us, and also visit our website to see the type of services we offer, or just call us if you have any questions, and email us also. And also we do have social media pages that you can follow in LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. So it would be helpful, because in those pages, we do provide resources that could be beneficial to your business. And thank you for joining us today and learning about sustainability and how you can apply in your business. If there's no other questions, then we can end here. I hope you all have a good day. And yeah.
Thank you for joining, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.